Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into something you've likely seen, maybe even done, how social media has really changed things for us as consumers.
It really has.
A single post online, it feels like it can completely shift how we view a business.
Absolutely.
So our aim today is to explore that power shift. Between us and the companies, we're working from some interesting questions about our rights now in this digital world.
Exactly. Think about platforms like X or Instagram, TikTok. They're not just for, holiday snaps anymore.
No, definitely not.
They're basically public squares now, a place where what consumers say can have, well, real weight. The questions we've got really get to the core of this.
Okay, so first big thing, how easily we can share experiences now, good or bad. It's way beyond just filling out a comment card.
It's like a broadcast, really.
Yeah, a public broadcast.
And the reach is what's so different. A traditional review on some website might be seen by people already looking.
Sure, people searching for that specific thing.
But a complaint on social media, if that gets shared, if it catches on, it can hit a massive audience almost instantly.
And that puts, I imagine, a lot of pressure on businesses,
Huge pressure. That visibility is something else.
which leads to, well, a tricky question. Can a business just delete negative comments or reviews they don't like the look of? Seems like a gray area.
Well, generally speaking, legally, they can't just suppress honest negative reviews.
Okay.
That could get them into trouble with consumer protection laws. But if a review is, say, factually wrong or maybe defamatory, then it gets more complicated.
Right, nuance there.
Definitely.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting for me, the viral effect. We've all seen it, right?
Yeah.
Someone posts about a terrible experience, it just blows up.
Yeah, it goes everywhere.
And suddenly the company's scrambling, maybe even changing policies.
That happens.
Yeah.
And it shows the power of sort of collective consumer focus. Companies know their online reputation matters a
It
lot
affects sales, right?
directly. So
Got it.
that awareness, yeah, it can definitely speed up changes sometimes.
But, okay, flip it around. Putting your own complaints out there in public, are there downsides for us as consumers?
Oh, absolutely. You need to be careful. Privacy is one thing, maybe sharing too much personal detail.
Good point.
And there's also the chance of, well, backlash, either from the brand itself or just other people online piling on. It's not always a positive experience.
Okay. What about influencers, the people promoting products? Are there, like, rules to make sure we know if they're being paid?
Yes, there are. Bodies like the FTC, that's the Federal Trade Commission in the U.S., but similar rules exist elsewhere. They have guidelines.
Right.
Influencers need to be clear, really clear, about disclosure if they're getting paid or compensated in some way to promote something.
So transparency, making sure we know it's an ad.
Exactly. So you, the consumer, can weigh that information properly.
So does all this public complaining, maybe going viral, actually mean you get your problem solved faster?
It often seems that way. That public spotlight can definitely encourage companies to act quicker.
To manage their reputation?
Precisely. They want to address those really visible issues fast, but, how complex the problem is still matters, of course. It's not automatic.
We talked about businesses maybe not liking negative feedback. What about our rights when we post online? Are we protected legally?
There are free speech protections, yes, but they aren't absolute, especially when you're talking about businesses.
Okay.
Making false statements or defamatory ones, that can still lead to legal trouble. So sticking to the facts, being accurate, that's really important.
Makes sense. And with so much stuff being sold directly through social media now, what about scams? Fake ads, dodgy products. Are the platforms doing enough?
Well, they're certainly trying. Platforms are using more tech, AI even, to try and spot and take down fraudulent ads and listings.
What's still happening?
It's an ongoing battle, for sure. So as a consumer, you still need to be vigilant. If a deal looks way too good to be true.
It probably is.
It often is, yeah. Buyer beware still applies online.
So pulling this together then, how can we as consumers use social media well, like responsibly but effectively, to push for better rights or service?
I think effective advocacy comes down to being factual, first off. Be clear about what happened. Be respectful, even if you're angry.
Okay. Stick to the facts.
Yeah. Focus on the specifics of the issue. Avoid just ranting or making broad claims you can't back up. That's usually more effective.
Right. So, wrapping up, social media has undeniably given consumers, well, more power. a louder voice.
No question. It's amplified our ability to share experiences.
But it also comes with new things to think about, responsibilities for us, potential risks too.
Exactly. It's a whole new landscape, really.
Which leaves us with a final thought, I guess.
Mm.
As social media keeps changing, which it always does,
Constantly.
how will this dynamic keep shifting, between our voices and how companies respond? And maybe what part do we each play individually and how that evolves?
Yeah. That's the big question going forward.
Something to mull over. Thanks for diving deep with us today.